Ron Rivera has been fired as the Chicago Bears head coach, and there's a Chicago Bears DC job that seems to be open, with Flus probably going to want to take back over being the CEO of this team. Would Chico be a good fit for the Chicago Bears, and would he go back to being a DC? We'll talk about all that and more in today's episode of the Windy City Breeze Sports Talk Daily. Let's go. Now, if you are new to the channel, please like the video. Please subscribe to the page. We do talk Bears daily on this channel. It's the only channel to talk Chicago sports, how Chicago talks. So make sure that you get in tune with us, man. So, Chicago Bears are in an interesting position here heading into the offseason. Defense improving, moving in the right direction. And there is a former DC that used to be a DC here with the Chicago Bears that has now been made available. Of course, I'm talking about Ron Chico Rivera. Somebody who played here, won a Super Bowl with the Chicago Bears, was a part of this Bears defense for a long time, and could bring an impact to the Chicago Bears heading into this season. What would he bring to this Bears team is the real question. I talked with Lance Briggs about this, somebody who came up under Chico, somebody who worked with Chico, somebody who spent a lot of time with Ron Rivera as their DC and as a coach who was in the room with him. And I asked him, what does Ron bring to the Chicago Bears if he comes here? And he talked about how Lovie Smith was much more of a passive type of head coach, a head coach who was going to, when he called the defense, of course, when he called the defense, was going to kind of just let the play develop. He was going to rush for it. He was going to let the defense do what it did. He was going to stay in coverage. He wasn't going to attack as much. And when he had Chico as his DC, there was a lot more of, okay, guess what? We're going to kill the quarterback. Gee, I wonder why. It's almost like he was a part of that 85 Bears defense, but a much more aggressive play call style. And to me, that's really why I would be interested in seeing Ron Rivera come in here as the defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears, as somebody that the Bears could bring in to really invigorate this defense and attack more, do some of the things that we heard the defensive players say that they wanted to do coming into this season, while maintaining that same system that Flus has there. Lance talked about how kind of there was this mesh, right, where it was Lovie and it was Chico together, and when they were together, it was this perfect combination of, we're going to be aggressive, but also we're going to allow the coverage to do what the coverage is going to do. And so I would be very, very interested in getting Ron Rivera in here as a Chicago Bears DC, because to me, a more aggressive style changes so many of these games. Playing a more aggressive style of football, to me, in that Detroit game changes how the Bears' outcome at the end of that game is. Playing a more aggressive style in that Denver game changes how the outcome of that Denver game goes. Now, at the end of the day, no Montez Sweat. That defense was pretty bad, blah, blah, blah. With Sweat in the building, though, one, you've got a coach who's already coached this guy, who's already been over this guy, who's been a part of a defense that Sweat already knows. Now you're adding that with Matt Eberflus. You're bringing somebody in who he feels comfortable with, maybe even being able to get some more pieces from Washington if we trade back, which is always a good scenario to be in. I just feel like this is almost a match made in heaven. And on top of that, I also look at the game that we just saw from the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers, and it made me bring up a different question. But before I get to that, I do want to ask you guys to hit that like button, to subscribe to the page, man. We do talk Chicago sports daily, and let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Do you think Ron Rivera would be a good defensive coordinator for the Chicago Bears if he were willing to go back into a defensive coordinator role? And for all of you guys that have subscribed, thank you so much. For all of you guys that do comment, thank you so much for sticking with us through this Bears coverage. I need y'all to understand something. It was crazy too, because like I had a video a couple of days ago, or maybe last week, 2 weeks ago, something like that, where I literally was like, hey, could you guys make sure that you subscribe, because the subscriber count is pretty much 50-50. It got got to a point where we were at 70-30, literally on the subscriber count. Now we've got so many new viewers. Guess what? We're back at pretty much 50-50. So for all of you new viewers that haven't hit that subscribe button, if you can hit that sub button for us, it's greatly appreciated. One love. Let's get back into talking about Chico Rivera. The one thing for me with Chico coming in here that I think the Bears don't have, that I think they need to have, that I think they need to have more heart on, that they need to have more fight on, and that I think Chico 110% would bring is what we saw yesterday in that Bears game versus the Packers. I've said this a couple of times on a couple different shows now. When I look at Chico Rivera as a former Chicago Bear, I don't think that he would stand for the effort that we've put in against the Packers. I don't think that he would stand for the mentality that we put in against the Packers over the last 10 games. I almost said 10 years. Well, 10 years, honestly. I can say 10 years, which sucks. If we're being honest, I can say 30 years pretty much of Packers football, minus the small time where Lovie Smith was here and they came in and actually were able to kick the crap out of the Packers a little bit back. But like when you look at just the mindset of the Packers, it feels like the Chicago Bears are the little kid that comes in and is like, I'm finally going to beat my bully. And they throw a punch fully knowing they can't beat the bully, and you hold back and you don't throw your best punch, and then you end up losing because now all of a sudden the bully's like, why the heck did you just hit me? And he pummels the crap out of you. I don't think that we would see that coming in if we were to bring a former Bear into this coaching staff and actually be able to hold some guys accountable and let guys know what this rivalry really meant. And maybe that's a meathead approach, right? Maybe behind the scenes they are doing that. Maybe behind the scenes there is more conversation about that. But you know what? It didn't show on the field. And I think that that's one thing that having Chico being more aggressive on the defensive end, being more willing to blitz, being more willing to send pressure, that I would love to see bring back here. And when talking with Lance, right, he was, when I mentioned Chico at first, he was kind of like, okay, you know, what's going on with him? You know, and then he was like, do you want to bring him as the head coach? I was like, nah, I don't want to bring him as the head coach. I want to bring him as the defensive coordinator. He's like, oh, that's a really good get. I think that there's not a ton of people out there that I'd be genuinely excited to bring in as a defensive coordinator that run a 4-3 defense, right? Like we don't hear about a ton of people being uber successful in a 4-3 defense anymore. Most people are running 3-4, right? And there's not a lot of names like those guys that are uber successful are probably up for head coaching jobs. So for me, when I look at Chico, a guy who's been a head coach, who's lived that life as a head coach, that maybe is looking at the situation and saying, you know what? Yeah, I've now been in a couple of different situations here where I've gotten the axe and it's been subpar play. I mean, his record in what am I trying to say here? His record with the Commanders in the NFC East, 26-40-1 overall in his time there. He did win the division back in 2020, but that's so long ago. You know what I'm saying? And so now you're looking at a situation where maybe he's like, you know what? I'm going to interview for some of these head coaching jobs, but maybe I'd be interested in taking a step back, becoming a DC again, and actually, you know, kind of building up that confidence and all of that back again. Not to say that he's not confident in what he's going to do, but building up the resume again as well. When you come off of a couple of seasons like he's had, right, you're probably not going to be very high on a lot of people's head coaching candidate list. And so for me, I think building it back up as a DC, coming back in, taking a step back and building up a Bears defense that is ready to go if you get some more, a couple more pieces here, right? You go out, you get a 3 technique, you get you another edge rusher, both things that you can find in the draft this year. I think that we would see a dominant defense right off the bat, and I think Chico Rivera would be really, really good for that. I do want to know how you guys feel, man. Let me know in the comments below. I'll be down there talking with you as well. As always, man, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Let me know how you guys feel. I'd be excited to get him in. I'm excited about a 4-3 defensive guy. Like that tells you how high I am on bringing back Chico. Let's get this all together. Let's get Chico. Let's go get Harbaugh. Let's just build a full Bear staff. We're bear down in this mug, man. That's just me. That's just me. That's all I'm saying. Hey, appreciate you guys tuning in and showing love. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Peace.